Okay, this is going to be setting up the DroidLink master, display, and slave. Um, you could do this without having these boards connected inside your R2 yet or your Droid yet. Basically, what you're going to be doing is supplying 5-volt power through the USB cord to the ESP32 on each of these devices. That will be enough to go ahead and install the software and then go through the web configuration setup and get them all ready to go. From there, you can go ahead and mount them in your R2, start connecting the wires up and go from there. I do know that the online instructions, if you've come here to the Linktree URL to get started, I'm going to open that up real quick. The getting started does have information, of course, on the wiring and stuff like that. So part of this is, hey, this is what you're going to need before you get started. We are going to install the master, then the display, then the universal slaves, and we'll talk about that. So this is having us go right to the DroidLink installer. I'm going to click on that. All right, well, just keep in mind that you can always go back. There's two ways to get there. Obviously, I could have just clicked right here, DroidLink installer, and gone right to the installer. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do the master first. So I'm going to click on master, and I am going to plug the USB cable in. And I apologize, I can't show you this while I'm doing a screen capture. I'm going to plug the USB cable into the right port, on the right USB port on the ESP32. The master board is a little bit bigger, of course, and it does have 2 USB connectors on it. So again, when you're looking at the board, on the side with the big silver chip that says ESP32 on it, you want to do it to the one on the right, and that is labeled underneath it as COM. C-O-M. All right, it's the one closest to the barrel on the breakout board. Okay, so we're going to select master controller. We're going to put our license in here, and then we're going to click on install firmware. DroidLink is going to ask to connect to a serial port. In this case, I'm going to say COM6. That is my ESP32, and I am going to say connect. And I'm going to install DroidLink master. Yeah, I know what I'm trying to say. This is basically telling me anything on this ESP32 is going to be erased, and it is going to install version 1.2. We'll take a few moments here. Something else I do want to mention is I am doing this on a laptop, which does make it a little bit easier. This is an Intel processor-based laptop running Windows 11. Part of that is because of how the web installer works. If you're using a Mac, I don't have one. My understanding is that you must use Chrome to do the install, but I don't know anything more than that. I apologize. One of the reasons why I'm using my laptop to do this and not my desktop PC is my desktop PC does not have Wi-Fi in it. It's wired Ethernet. When I need to connect up here to the boards to run their configuration, you're going to connect up to the built-in hotspot on the board. So that's going to require me to bring up my Wi-Fi settings and pick in this case, DroidLink master, and then connect up and put in the password and then connect up and so on. The other thing that I recommend you doing as well is opening up a copy of Notepad. During this installation, you're going to be given the MAC addresses for your master and your slave and your display. You're going to need those during different parts of the setup. So it's a good idea to copy those down and have them available to you when you get to those steps, you can just paste them in, or you at least have them to type them in. Right now, what you cannot see on my ESP32 is my light turned a pinkish purple color, the bigger light, and the install is complete. I'm going to click next, and I'm going to go to Login Console. That is the next step here on the getting started. These are all the steps we just did. And it's now, we're not going to disconnect. We're going to click on Logs in Console. And then we're going to reset the device. So let me go back to that. I'm going to click Reset the Device. The master will boot. And here you go. So now, here is the information that I need. Biggest thing I'm going to need is the master's MAC address. I am going to basically go take this, copy that to the clipboard, bring up my notepad, and paste it in. It doesn't hurt for you to also copy in, for example, your DroidLink key. All right, so now I've got that. So the next thing that we're going to do is we need to connect up to the DroidLink master. So I'm going to go down in my Windows tray here, and I'm going to go to my Wi-Fi settings, and I'm going to click on Master Config. I'm not going to connect automatically. One thing you'll note here is it does say Master Config, and it does have DroidLink as the password. And then we're going to open our browser to this. My laptop can sometimes be a little slow. I apologize. And I have connected to this DroidLink master before, so I believe Windows remembered my password, so that's why it looks like it's not prompting me. So Windows does sometimes give you does complain that it's not connected to the internet or can't connect to the internet. If you have an option, say ignore it and stay connected. So now I'm connected here. So now I'm going to go over to my browser. 1, 2. Okay, here we are, DroidLink master. Configure the system. So now you're going to give the license key. I do have to type that in again. Wi-Fi SSID, that's going to be my Wi-Fi for my home network. I am going to put in the password for that Wi-Fi. The remote OTA, I'm going to turn that on. Leave this local OTA retry attempts at 1. Drive safety limits here. So this is something that's going to be set for you by default at 30%. The idea is no matter what you set your, this percent here is the overall percentage of what you set your speed controllers to. So if you're using the FlipSky ESCs with the 4-inch hub motors, you'll be using the VESC tool to set those up, and you'll be defining the characteristics and stuff for your motors in there. This is a limit that says no matter what you set that to in the VESC tool, or no matter what you set later on in the display for your drive speeds, 30% of that is all that's going to be sent to your motors. This is a safety feature till you get used to driving R2. Limiting your speed is a good thing. So the next thing, input mode, leave it as RC S-Bus. Drive motors, this is going to be based upon are you using the FlipSky ESCs or are you doing Sabertooth? In my case, I'm doing the FlipSky ESCs, so I'm going to leave this off. Now, I am going to say, is a node device, a display node present? I'm going to say yes. I don't have a MAC address yet. So I will leave that alone. I'm going to leave that off for right now. I'm going to save this configuration. And I am going to reboot by unplugging the USB cable. If you notice this says factory reset, by the way, this will reset your master back to factory settings. Everything that you have up here will be lost, and you will be setting up starting from scratch. Okay? All right, so that board is configured. I am not going to do anything else on that board at the moment. I'm going to put that aside, and I am going to connect back up to my home Wi-Fi. Oh, it already did. I'm going to connect back up to my home Wi-Fi and go back to the DroidLink installer. Now what we're going to do is we are going to do the slave. Or I'm sorry, we're going to do the display. Sorry, my bad. The display will be the next thing on there. And we're going to choose, I have the 2.6-inch display, so when you're looking at the parts list, I have this display right here. I know it says beta here, but it is actually live, so just FYI. So I'll come back here, and I'm going to take the AMOLED display. Display UI is for the old round one. So if you do have the old round one, you can still install that. I'm going to go ahead and say install the firmware. Here is my display. I'm going to go ahead and say connect, and I'm going to install DroidLink. Yes, I want to install DroidLink 1.0. Again, it will take a few moments to install. I already had mine set up, so it is erasing it and then installing the DroidLink software onto it. So this takes a few moments. Okay. It should be finishing up here just a moment. We're going to do a similar setup with this one. Again, we're going to go to Logs and Console, reset the device. Now, here's your DroidLink display, and here's the device MAC address. Okay? So let me come back over here and put in my display and the MAC address. Again, this is just because I'm going to need these MAC addresses later. From here, I'm going to go back. I'm going to connect to the DroidLink master. Oh, I've got to I forgot to restart it. My bad. Oh no, I should have just unplugged it. My bad. Okay, so we're good here. So that's done. Let me go over here, and I should have a DroidLink display on here. There it is, DroidLink display. Connect. Again, it does take some time. One of the things that will happen from time to time is Fred Moore has gone ahead and brought out some updates. So occasionally you will have to go in and run the over-the-air update, and I'll show you that when I get these configured. All right, Windows is having fun here with me. Let me disconnect that one and reconnect to it. Now, while I'm doing this configuration and the web interface on the computer right now, you can do it from a tablet browser. Once you get the firmware on the devices, you can do the configurations and stuff using any device just about that's got Wi-Fi in it and a browser. As long as you get the boards into their config modes, you can go ahead and do that configuration. So let me go ahead here. We're now in the DroidLink display web configuration, and here's where we go. So I'm going to take my master Mac, pop it in there, home Wi-Fi again, and there are no over-the-air updates for this. I'm going to go ahead and save and reboot. Okay, so now that's saving and restarting. Let me go ahead and let me get the master into configuration mode, and we'll start doing the configuration on the master. Now, for those who are saying or thinking, well, Mike, how are you going to reset that DroidLink master back into configuration mode? You don't have anything hooked up to it. Fred does have on here entering the master config mode. So it is on the getting started page, step 4, enter the master config mode. So I'm using number 2 here. Click the RST button on the master, that's the ESP32 master. And then immediately after you press it, press and hold the button that's labeled boot for about 6 or 7 seconds. There is that purplish, pinkish, whatever color, bigger LED that turns on. And when that does, you can release the boot button, and then you'll be in the master config. So now what we're going to do is add the display to the master. So we're going to, again, go back, connect to the master config. We're going to do a couple things on this one. So we are going to do the display, and then we are going to do, I actually skipped ahead and flash the slave. So we're going to do the slave too. So, all right, let that come up here. All right, so now we're going to go to that same URL. So we're back in the DroidLink master, configure system. Now, the remote release, the OTA is enabled. So now what I'm going to do is come here and say, is a DroidLink node present? Yes. What is the MAC address? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't do the display yet. That's right. I mean the slave yet. All right, here's the display. I'm sorry, I didn't do the slave yet. Okay, so here's the display. Put its MAC address in there. I'm going to go ahead and save that configuration. So basically, what this wants us to do is go back into the configuration mode. Once we're there, turn on the display present yes, put in the MAC, save the configuration, and restart by power cycling. So, all right. And then what we're going to do is so what we're going to do from here is, let me go here. I've got that saved, and then I'm going to restart it by unplugging it, waiting a couple of seconds, and plugging that USB cable back into that port over there on the right. Once it comes up and you look at your DroidLink display, it should be showing you the Wi-Fi icon on there. The DroidLink master will likely have a bright green LED on, that larger LED being green. From there, you can go to, on the display, you can click on Command Center. If you notice, the green light may blink when you do that. From there, you want to go to the settings, and then you can click on Master UI, and it should make that LED flash and turn that purplish color again, putting that master LED or that master board in configuration mode. So I'm going to now go to the slave. So we're going to do the universal slave, install firmware. Oops, I forgot to hook up my board. There's only one USB port on the ESP32. I'm going to go ahead and plug into that. We'll take a moment. The red light will come on immediately, but you might see the blue light blink. And then here it is, USB serial COM5. I'm going to go ahead and Install the slave. Install. If you're following along, one step that I apologize, I think I forgot to mention, because the OTA was toggled on the master, what that means is the next time it tries to reboot in normal mode and operational mode, it will try to go out and look for any firmware updates, download them, and install them. So if you do reset the master with that turned on, I would give it a few minutes to go out there, download the firmware update if there is one, and then let it do its update and then come back to being ready again. So that's just an FYI. And that's the same with any of these boards, whether it be the display or whether it be one of the slaves. In my particular setup, on my R2, I have a slave in the body and I have a slave in the dome. The body slave has a Maestro 24 in it to do things like the utility arms, open up the doors and panels and stuff like that. And then it'll do the servos for that. And then in the dome, I have also a Maestro 24 to open up all the blue panels, the pie pieces, you know, that kind of thing. I also have an Astro Pixel set up there to do the lights, the logic displays, front and rear, as well as the PSI lights and the holo projectors. So when it comes time for configuring the slave, I'll show you how that gets done as well. So here we are. Again, it's completed its update. Log in console. Reset the device. And again, now we have a slave. And it's in config mode, but here's the MAC address because we're going to need that. Come back over here to Mr. Handy Dandy Notepad. Okay. So now for me, I am going to label this one in my notes here. I'm going to say body slave. And we're going to call it number 2, and I'll explain that in a moment. Okay. So now we're in config mode here. So again, we're going to go to, now this is called slave config instead of master config that we had before. Here's slave config. I'm going to connect to that. Slave config is configured. I am now going to come back here to 192.168.4.1 slave node identity. This is the number 2 that I talked about before. So I put my body as slave number 2. The display will always be number 1. So never use number 1. Start with slave number 2, ID number 2. So I have ID 2 in the body. It's MAC, the MAC address. Sorry, master MAC address. Gonna get that from the clipboard here. Paste that in. Now, output routing. What is connected to my slave? As I mentioned before, I have a Maestro, which is not on this list yet. All right. Body. There we go. Maestro. And mine's a mini. Typically, leave these as is. You know, pick your mini if you've got a 12, 18, or 24. Pick the micro if it's a 6 port. Leave the baud rate as is. Since I don't have anything else in the body that I'm connecting to this slave, I'm going to leave output B go. If this were the slave that was in the dome, where I have both a Maestro and an Astro Pixel, what I will do is give it the identity of 3, and I will say, where is it? It's in the dome. Again, I will pick the Maestro for serial 1, and then serial 2, I would put Astro Pixels. Okay? I'm going to leave this. I'm just going to leave this go because I don't have another slave to run through the configuration on. So just you have to bear with me here. So I'm going to say enable this on the next reboot. Oh, something else. LED setup. So if you're using the Jared mod for the utility arms and you want to put the LED strip there behind the data port, that's where this comes in. You can click on LED setup, change to how many LEDs. Usually it's 30 or so you'll have to count. And the WS2812 or 2812E or B are the strips that you can use. He's got the information in the PDF that goes along with his thing. I used a 12 millimeter strip, and it was 30 LEDs on it to make that curve in the front there. So I'm going to save that. Obviously, I wouldn't do this on the dome master. I would have done this on the body master. All right, if you notice, all my stuff is gone here. Why? Because I didn't save it before I went to the LED. So let's put the master node ID, or the slave node ID back in. Let's get the master Mac again. I'm going to say dome, since I'm making this number 3. I'm going to make this a Maestro. Output 2 is astropixels. I'm going to put in my thing there, and I'm also going to say enable OTA on the next reboot. I'm going to go ahead now and save and reboot. Excuse me. The slave is now reconfiguring, or is now saving that configuration, rebooting. You may see some lights come on, like blue light come on, while it's doing this reboot process. Once it comes back up and running, it's close to being ready to use. So now what we need to do is we need to connect up with our master, and when we do that, we are going to have to put the slave's MAC address in there so that we can configure so that the MAC, so that the ESP now connection can be established from the master to the slave. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and plug in the master. Again, there's 2 ways to put this. Now there's 2 ways to put this into configuration mode. Option 1, plug it in and then use that reset and then boot combination. Or option 2, go into the display. And on the display, you'll want to go underneath settings and then, or command center, then settings, and then click on master UI. And that will put the master into configuration mode. All right, so now let me connect to the master. Master config, connect. I know this seems like a long process. This is you're going to have to do it this one time. The rest of the time, once you get these updates on these devices and stuff, you'll get the over-the-air updates and you won't have to do this. There will be some configuration that you'll want to go back in from time to time and do, but it will be a lot easier. So. Okay. All right, so now, if you notice, we're on firmware 1.3. We installed 1.2 before, but because I said, bring the OTA update down on there, it did bring that down. So I'm going to go ahead and configure the system. So now what we're doing is I always leave this on. Okay, slave. Now I need to take my MAC address from my slave and add it in here. The order in which you add your slaves here does not matter. You can put the first one, then the second one. You can put slave node 3 first, node 2, or you can put node 2 and node 3. As long as their MAC addresses for all your slaves are listed in here. Once you do that, I'm going to go ahead and click on save. That way everything is saved. Now, from here, if you reboot all your boards, they will all connect up and you are ready to go for the most part. There are a few things that you will want to do. First off, RC controls. If you have the Hot RC DS650 remote controls with the S-Bus A receivers, one for the dome, one set for the dome, one set for the drive. You can come in here and you can take a look at what these are. So for drive, we've got some command sequences here. So dome's thumbstick up and dome A, which is the number 3 button, will enable the drives. Dome up and dome B will set drive mode slow. Dome up and dome C, B is 4, C is 5, and D is 6. So you've got normal and turbo modes. When you actually go into the display, and this is something I wanted to tell you, when you go into the display, command center, and then you have the drives enabled, you can, I don't have drives connected to my board, so I can't actually make it enabled. But when you do that, on that main screen there, to the left of the word master, will be a params setting. When you click on that, there will be an option for drive enable and dome enable, but there will also be slow, normal, and turbo. And you basically want to enable your drives, click on slow, and then there's an option when you go in for slow, for setting up your parameters for slow, where you can change sliders to how far over slow goes. So you could put turbo at full acceleration, for example, and full speed deceleration. And then slow mode, you can put it over, the sliders over only a quarter of the way, for example, and normal you could put somewhere in the middle. And then that way, when you toggle these 3 speeds, you have 3 different speeds you're running R2 at. Okay? Dome enable, you can see here is dome down and dome. What dome is that? Dome A, sorry, my bad. Dome down and dome A. And then dome down and dome B is master config. But again, you can do that on the screen. You can change these buttons and control mappings if you want to. You can add additional if there's buttons that are still available between here, master sequence, and audio. So you can see we have some defaults here, dome down and A button, which is number 3, dome controller down and the B button, and the drive B button, and so on. They'll play these tracks. Alternatively, you could go on the on the display and go underneath audio, and the audio sounds, sample sounds that Fred has up there on the DroidLink website for it's on slave. I think it's on the slave wiring one. Oh, I can't get there. I'm not connected to the internet. Sorry. So when you go to when you go to the display when you go to wiring and then to the display section, there's a link to a zip file that has the sounds in it. You format your micro SD card. It cannot be larger than 32 gig. Format it as FAT or FAT32. Default allocation size selected if you're formatting it in Windows. And then basically take that, you want to make an MP3 folder on the root of that drive, on the top level of that drive, and make sure all your MP3s are in there. If you download the package from Fred, that makes it easy because that will, when you play, when you have the DF player hooked up with speakers and you power R2 on, there will be a power on sound. When you enable the dome and the drive, you will get notification that the dome is enabled, the drive is enabled, and then when you disable them from the display, you'll also get some funny sounds for R2 shutting those things down. Now, what is a master sequence? This is something that you can set up. So as you notice, there's 4 that are here that are going to be executed. So if you hit drive A, the number 3 button on the drive controller, master sequence 0 will run. If you hit drive the B button or the 4 button on the drive controller, the master sequence 01 will run. Okay? Where are these master sequences? They are underneath commands here. So here is the sequence command, master sequence command. I will add something here, and I will say DS01. Now, because I have a Maestro connected to my display or my dome slave DS, it will route this command to the dome slave, and it will, because it's in this format, it knows this is for a Maestro. It'll call sequence number 1 that I've programmed on my Maestro and run that. So if I set up my Maestro to open and close my utility arms, when I call master sequence 0 in DroidLink, it will hit that Maestro sequence, and so on. You can chain multiple commands here. I could do BS01, body slave, sequence 1. I can do AS01, play a sound, file number 1. You'll notice that all of the MP3 files in the zip file you downloaded will have names starting with 0001 and upwards. So all you need to do is put that number right here. So this, if you called this master sequence 0, it would call the Maestro sequence number 1 on the dome's Maestro, and call the Maestro sequence number 1 on the body Maestro. And it would play the sound file that starts with 0001. You can chain all these together, save them. You can add commands and delays and all kinds of things. So you don't have to put these all on one line. I could have put it over here. If you want to do an AstroPixel command, there's a APLE, and then that is explained on the DroidLink guides for. There is one for apparently it's not in the tree that I have over here. So there is command reference. We'll talk about the AstroPixel commands that you could send. You could put the AstroPixels into panic mode or alarm mode, Leah mode, and stuff like that. You can change the colors of the logic displays and things like that. So, all right. So this allows you to put these commands in here, and then you can call them from the remote control buttons. All right. So now I'm going to let me go ahead and save my configuration, and I am going to. There's 2 ways to get the master into running mode from here, and that is going to be either hit the boot button on the ESP32 for the master, or power cycle it, unplug the power and plug the power back in. All right, so now let me show you one other thing before I disconnect here, and that's going to be command sequences that you can send from the display. Drawing display. The DroidLink display, I can talk. The DroidLink display, when you come in here, you can change the colors of the screen accents and such. So if you want the button, if you want the main screen to be blue, but you want, when you go to the audio player screen, you want it to be red as an outline and an accent color. So the boxes would be around it would be red and stuff like that. The settings screen, you can make that yellow or whatever. You could just change this. This is the hexadecimal code for colors. So you could go into Microsoft Paint, find the color you like. Down at the bottom, it'll tell you what the hex color of that is, and you can copy and paste it. Now, if you come in here, you see that body 0 is set up for BS01, so body slave 01, or 00, I mean. and body 1 BS01. So yeah, this is going to send to the body slave, run maestro command or whatever, 0, sequence 0. So if I had this hooked up right now with my maestro and all my servos connected to it, if I were on the display, go to command center, then body, and hit body 0, it would run my maestro sequence 0 and perform that action. I can add anything else I want to this. I could add, AS01 or whatever. The other neat thing about this is you can hit send right from here. It will send through the display right to your master board and execute that just as if you push the button on the display. So this is great when you're trying to figure things out. You can set up all your commands here, execute it, let it run, see what it looks like without having to go into configuration mode on the master board. Once you're done, I recommend you take that string, copy it to the clipboard, paste it down here, and then maybe if it's an important one for you anyway, copy it over to a master sequence over on the master board. That way you can call it from a remote control button. If they exist, if these command strings exist only on the display's configuration, you cannot control them from one of the hot RC DC650 boards, DC650 handheld controllers. You can only call these sequences from the remote. So if you want to call them from a button on the DS650 remote, copy it to a master sequence on the master utility board, on the master master board in configuration mode. Again, you could set up dome. If you had a lifter, you can set that up. Audio is already programmed to match the audio files that are on or in the MP3 folder. So you've got sound 1 button will go sound 001. Sound 2, sound 002. All the way down the line, up to about 40. Yeah, 40. Okay. You could add more buttons if you need to. But Mike, I can't remember what that sound is. Okay, no worries. Click in the box. You could say R2 chirping happy birthday. Can you tell I'm having fun with this and I can't type? Excuse me. So there you go. Yeah, I can spell chirping. Spell check. What? All right, fine. Don't help me. Anyway, tripping? No. That, I think, might be a little better. No, I don't know anymore. I can't spell. I'm sorry. I'm a child of the 70s and 80s, and I grew up with spell check, and I rely on it too much. I apologize. But yeah, you could do this on any single one of the sound or body or dome. You could say, hey, dome, open, you could say open pi panels in random order. And that's because on the Maestro, I set up a sequence 0 that opens up the pi panels in a random order. Okay? You could go over to, and I usually like to, okay, so we can go over here, for example, body, and say, oh, body 0, no, open top utility arm. And then, you can change, or while playing chirping sound. There you go. So that's basically what it's doing. And then when you've got everything figured out here and configured how you want, come back over here and you'll want to say save and reboot. With the display, even though it's saving and restarting the display, it only blanks out for like a quick second and then comes back on. So if you're not looking at it, it will, you'll miss it that it restarted. But it will go back to the home screen with the DroidLink on it and the R2 logo. Something else that you'll want to do from time to time here, until Fred comes out with the new firmware, temporarily I would recommend that you come in here, you copy everything here to the clipboard and paste it so that you have all of your commands and descriptions. That way, if something happens and there's a firmware update that needs to will blow the configuration away, or if you're playing and you messed something up and you want to go back to factory settings, and you don't want to lose your sequences and stuff, copy it to the clipboard, paste it to a text file. That way, you have a backup of it in case something happens and you need to put it back in. Let's say your display breaks or you lose your display and you have to set up a new one. Well, now you have all your configurations here that are in the display. Okay, so the sequences in the display, and once you have 1.3 on the master, doing a upgrade or anything won't affect the configuration. However, doing a factory reset will reset everything. So again, just in case, select all when you're in the master config, copy to the clipboard and paste it. And you'll want to do that for every one of the tabs here on the display. And you'll want to do the same thing for every one of the audio and the master sequence settings and the dome settings and stuff like that in the master config. So now one last thing, you cannot do it from here, and that was the I mentioned this briefly. If you have the master board connected to your speed controllers, or if you're using a Sabertooth, then you're going to, if you got that connected on the DroidLink display, go to Command Center, and then go to you want to enable drives. You want to go to the param screen, and it's going to be in normal mode. Okay, when it's in first when I'm in there right now, it's in normal mode. And I have sliders for max speed, acceleration. Obviously, max speed is the top speed it'll go. Acceleration, how fast do you want it to get up to speed? Deceleration, how fast do you want it to stop once you let go of the stick? And spin rate, as in when you want to do a 360 sitting in place. You'll want to adjust those, and then you'll want to go to from the Command Center menu on the display. Down in the bottom right, you'll see one that says Master. You'll want to click on Master. Then you'll want to switch to the other drive modes. You'll see Drive Slow and Drive Normal and Drive Turbo are there. So you'll want to go to Slow and configure its parameters. Go to Normal, configure its configure its parameters, and go to Turbo, configure its parameters on the DroidLink display. Cannot be done anywhere else. Once you do that, and you're comfortable with how you drive, that's when you can go back into the master config, and there were those 30% values that were there for the ESC. When you're using an ESC like the Flip Skies, it may be different for the Sabertooth. And you can set those to a higher number or a lower number if you have to, and then you can you can go from there. So. And that's really about it. So now you have the master set up, you have DroidLink display set up, you have a slave with a Maestro connected to it, or a slave with an AstroPixel connected to it. You've seen how to program master sequences on the master control board. You've seen how to assign the remote, the DC 650 buttons to perform an action. And I've showed you the display, how to create actions on there and rename the buttons that you have. And, you can do it that way. Again, if you create those actions on the display, you cannot assign them to a remote control button on the DS650. You have to copy that into a master sequence on the master control board and then assign that master sequence to the button on the DS650. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention. When you are here on the display and you are configuring things, excuse me, you can call a master sequence from here. So I could say master sequence 0, 0, and send it here. You can rotate the dome if you enable the dome from the display. You cannot drive it from the display. So if you're doing a stationary device, a stationary R2, for example, and you just want to move the dome and make them make sounds or open up utility arms and body panels, then you're good to go here. You just have to, if you're trying to actuate servos or activate servos, then you need to program your Maestro sequences, but you can call them all from the display, and you don't have to worry about having the remote controls. So, all right, that's all I have for you today. So thanks for paying attention and listening all this time, and see you again next recording.